Yeehaw! The pioneers used to ride these for miles. This is my big log. Good morning, guys. This video is sponsored by Zenger's Super Base Pro. We're gonna get more on that a little bit later, but let's get right to the building. Another fine day at the off-grid, and today we've got a special project we're building. We've been spending the last couple of weeks organizing and gathering materials. We're going to be doing an A-frame. Not just a special A-frame, like a Canadian A-frame, right there. Doesn't that look like a good spot? But it's not gonna just be any A-frame. We've got the remnant of a fire hall garage doors. Look at these things. Look at those. Those are crazy. 35.5 inches wide by about 12 feet long, and that's going to be the predominant structure of the A-frame. So it's going to be very futuristic, cool looking. Oh, did I mention Don's here?
I'm here.
Don's here. He's got his helmet all set up. That means he's going to be using his chainsaw soon, because we've got a couple of dead standing trees sitting here that we've got to get rid of, clear the area, give us a nice blank slate in order to work from. Let's get started. I got a fair-sized log chalked up on the mill. It's a spruce log we actually salvaged from a tree job that happened in the city. So my buddy, my arborist friend, Joe, over at JL's Tree Service, he was the one that said, hey, he wants some logs. What we're gonna do with this guy is we're gonna make it into floorboards for our A-frame. I think I'll probably be able to get the entire floor, and if not, some other sort of boards from this guy. It is a substantial log, and anytime I'm dealing with a substantial log like this, well, it's a lot of work. Anytime you have a manual mill, because there's a lot of, you gotta use the cant to roll it and stuff, so it's heavy. It is what it is. You gotta get it done. It's better than buying them. Anytime you can take the opportunity to remove the knobs from the log, it makes everything go a little bit easier. They don't get caught up on stuff when you're trying to roll it. So that is the maximum weight I think my tractor can hold. I had no ballast on the back of it. I ended up using the little side rails in order to actually pivot it, which is not a great idea. I should probably develop a better system for doing that, but it's on there. It's probably gonna give me enough wood to start my A-frame floor. But yeah, just mill this guy up. So Don, what do you think of this plan?
It's a good plan.
Is it a good plan?
As always, yeah. I believe it is anyways.
All right.
We'll soon find out.
So
well,
usually,
maybe soon, but we'll find out.
we're digging holes today. Did I tell you that?
Yes, you did. You did warn me about
he brought his special shovel because he's got his favorite shovel. So whenever I start a project like this, I don't really tell Don exactly what it is, and I don't really have a drawing, but I kind of explain it with words, and hopefully at the end of the project it looks to the way I explained it. So anyway, this is the tree that's got to go. This is a butternut, and it's kind of like walnut, but it's not. It's butternut, and it's an endangered species, and if it's alive, you're not supposed to cut them. This one is long dead. The bark is coming off. This stuff is really, really nice wood, so I'm going to try to save as much as I can of it in order to make some other stuff out of it, maybe charcuterie boards or something like that. It's got some nice bark on it, or like not bark, but hardwood. Hopefully it's not, you know, pooping branches on me. Because anyway, safety first. Let's get our saws warmed up and let's get cutting. Well, it looks like we got the area pretty much cleared up. We got that dead tree cut down. We got that somewhat live cedar tree that we're gonna cut down. We're gonna actually use for posts, support our structure. Got a question for you, Don. Is it easier moving brush or is it easier running the saw?
It's hard to say, really. Because sometimes you have to move brush to use the saw, right?
That's insightful.
So,
It's true. I don't know. I find using the saw, I don't know, I can use the saw pretty much all day, but moving brush, it's kind of like you're doing a lot of walking and bending.
Tiring.
Yeah, walking and bending and moving brush, that seems, to me it's harder moving brush than it is running the saw. But it is good to have a guy moving the brush as you're cutting the brush so you don't have to bend down while you're cutting. If you got a guy just running brush, it's easier than kind of cut brush and move brush at the same time. It's the bending, it's the repetitive stuff you get used to. But when you kind of have to bend down and move the brush when you got your saw running, that's a whole nother level of hurt. We're almost done. Nice little area right here. Nice and, it's gonna be nice and bright midday. This is our little burn pile here. We got we've just been kind of getting rid of it as we go. We don't want the fire to get too big, and it's good to thin out your forest. You know, get rid of all the dry tinder that's on the forest floor. That stuff's like forest fire material. So if anytime you can kind of clean it up and burn it. There'll be a lot of people out there that say, you know, just make piles and that's kind of habitat for animals. Well, there is so much habitat for animals around here that I just kind of have to get rid of some of it. Now that we got our area cleared, we're going to mark out where our posts are going to go because this guy is going to be on posts. Oh yeah, how far are you down?
Good 3-4 inches.
Might be deep. All right, so we got almost our holes almost all dug. You don't know this, but Don's part groundhog. He's got, looks like he's got the majority of his 4 holes dug. I'm behind. I had to move a hole. It's really hard to move a hole. It's like digging a new hole. It's worse than digging a new hole? Nah, you got to get it started. It's not that bad. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's thinking that I'm doing this again.
Yeah, it's the lost productivity of moving the hole. How did we get the hole in the wrong place? I don't know. It's the good thing about holes. You can
twice too.
We measured 3 times and we still got the hole slightly in the wrong. It could still be in the wrong spot. We don't know exactly. So the plan is to, once we have the holes positioned in the right places, we're going to sink down some cedar posts, and we get the cedar posts down to gravel layer. And a lot of people talk about charring posts, and I don't do that. And the reasons why I don't do that is because around here people have been burying cedar posts in the grounds for generations, and a lot of them are still intact, you know, 100 years later. Is it anaerobic? It's an anaerobic, I believe. It's got no oxygen. It's got no oxygen in the ground. Posts need oxygen to rot. Cedar, so it's naturally bug resistant and moisture resistant. Susugi ban, I don't do that. I could char my posts. I got a fire going. I got a fire going right there. I could throw the things in the post. And actually, it's funny thing is there's been a study, and I don't remember which university, you guys can probably look it up, that Susugi ban actually does more damage to the post than good. You guys might be able to do some research on that. That it's something to do with actually moisture is being retained into the pole, and the pole actually rots out quicker when you char it. Don't believe me? Look it up. All right, now that we have our posts in place, we're just backfilling them with the stuff that we took out of the hole, so the clay and the rocks and whatnot, and we're ensuring that our posts are plumb up and down and in line with the other ones. And we made sure before we set our height on our posts that the far posts are sitting up out of the ground, because we want the far posts to be above grade in case there's splashback from rain and whatnot running, you know, off the roof. We don't want it to come up and hit our understructure of the building. So this is our little device here. We've got our K-Wheats laser level, and that shoots our green laser. Way over there we can see it's above grade, and then we can see at the front here we've got a nice little step. So that's the green line here. That's going to be where our posts are cut off afterwards once they're set in place and all packed down. It's cool tool time again. This time we've got ourselves a really neat laser level. This thing is a K-Wheats laser level. It comes with 2 batteries, a carrying case, and it shoots that ever popular green laser. And you can do the multi-function where you can plumb up and down, you can horizontal, you can shoot a grid pattern around the entire room. It's pretty cool. Let's see if I got my smoke to give me the laser show effect. This thing actually, it's self-leveling. Did I mention it's self-leveling? So there we put the on, or you can lock it. So if you want to hang pictures going up your staircase and you want it to be on an angle, you can lock it and then tilt your beam sideways. And there's also a magnet at the bottom, so you can attach it to a metal post. So if you're on a construction site, or if you're doing, you know, steel stud construction, you want to plumb your studs to the ceiling. You got a steel track on the bottom, steel track on the top. You put this guy on the bottom. It sticks to it. You move it all around. Again, K-Wheats. Link will be in the description below. You can check it out. It's heavy duty. We get a lot of flack sometimes for not using a tractor to dig our holes. And if I had an auger, I'd probably use an auger. Ideally, I want a really tight hole, because when I put my post in the hole, I want it to be tight. Because when I backfill it, I gotta pound all the dirt in there to make it so she's tight in there. And if you see this little post here, she's not wiggling at all. She's tight. Well, she's wiggling a little bit, but that'll dry up. And the clay will just, I don't know, it'll secure itself to the post. The post won't wiggle. There's 8 posts. You're not toppling this thing over. That's a good looking post. How's that for progress? We've got all our wood down here, and all we gotta do now is straighten it up, because it came right off the sawmill. It was a virgin spruce tree. The ends are a little jagged, so we're just gonna straighten them up with the old Makita skill saw. I got Don, he's just marking the ends on each one. So we'll straighten them and then determine how long our max length is, and that's gonna be the size of the cabin. That's kind of what you're limited to, is the size of the trees that you have milled out. Again, you could always, you know, cut down a lot of trees and make it huge, but we're gonna build with what we have. You know, I have a plan. It's up here. It'll all work out in the end. I think it's roughly about 9 feet across, and however wide the garage door panels are. So we gotta straighten them out first, and then go from there. Perfect. When I'm framing a floor, I like to lay out both ringers together, and then I use my speed square and I mark out 16" on center on both of them at the same time. And then what I can do is I can take these, split them apart, and it allows me to place my joists without even thinking about it, because both plates are going to be exactly the same. That power pack didn't even feel that compressor turn on. It was 1,000 watts draw. We're up. I was worried the compressor wasn't going to turn off. We're at 160 psi. That gun, I got it done, runs around 100 psi. So what we're going to do is use a nail gun to nail that thing in, because why not use as much technology as you possibly can. That Super Base Pro is doing a great job. It seems to, anything I throw at it seems to be handling no problem. I like it's got wheels. You can roll it around. It's like a little, like a, you know, off-grid, for off-grid, you know, building, or even like if you were to, like on a construction site, it basically turns every tool you own into a cordless, well, it doesn't really turn into a cordless tool, but a portable tool. You don't have to lug around gas and oil and have your generator running and have the neighbors angry at you. That thing solves that problem pretty good. You still got the construction noise, but you don't got the generator noise. Well, how's that for a dance floor? We've got all our joists in place. Now all we have to do is somewhat square it up. We're having a little bit of difficulty with squaring it because it's such a big thing and everything's heavy, and yeah, there's lots of problems with squaring it up. So my plan is to take a sheet of plywood. Yes, plywood. Plywood and OSB have somewhat met in the middle, and they're the same price now, or pretty darn close. It makes no sense to use OSB. I've switched to plywood. And if you don't know what OSB is, it's the chipboard or the oriented strand board. So we've switched to plywood. So I'm going to use, I went off a tangent there, I'm going to use the plywood as a straight edge, going to tack it along my long edge and then pivot my sides in order to square this thing up, because the last thing I want to do is have an unsquare platform to attach aluminum and glass. It's kind of like almost like a critical moment right now where we have to get everything squared up. Let's do that. It's like one of those aha moments where you got the sun right behind you and you figured something out at the end of the day and everything works out perfect. So what we've done is we've taken the plywood and we've screwed it off along the one edge there and then pulled the entire flooring structure one direction in order to line up that edge over there, this edge over here, and then we measure from corner to corner. We're at 187 both directions. The thing is square. So what I'm going to do is tack on a piece of plywood to hold us in place, and then we're going to shimmy the entire structure, the whole flooring structure, on its foundation in order to give its final location. This is exciting. Are you guys excited? I'm excited. This is pretty cool. As I mentioned before, this video is sponsored by Zenger's Super Base Pro. This guy is the power pack that you need in order to power all your home essentials. This thing is so powerful during an emergency power outage. You can still use your washing machine, you could use your dishwasher, your microwave, coffee maker, your fridge, skillet, a blender. This thing will power almost every single home appliance. And it's light enough to be portable to go camping with it. It's even got a handle so you can port the thing. It's got wheels on the back, roll it around. This is the pack for you. You guys can take part in the early bird special with this battery. For $9.99, you get yourself your hands on one of these guys. It's one of the most economical packs out there for the power that it punches. Charges really, really fast. You can actually get this thing from 0 to 100% charge in 2 hours. You can also hook up many solar panels to it to charge it in an equal amount of time. So it'll take an 1800 watt charge through AC or 1800 watts through solar. And you can do both at the same time and get this thing charged even quicker. So on the front of it here, we got the display. It shows you what the percentage of the battery got left. It shows you the output of how much wattage you're using, and the input, whether or not you've got it connected to either line voltage or solar, or you can actually plug it into your car. And then when you're not using it to save power, you can actually turn the inverter off, which is the AC button over here. On the side, you've got 6 AC ports that you can plug in 6 individual devices and a cigarette lighter adapter on the one side in order to plug in any kind of cigarette lighter adapter devices. And you've got some USB ports at the front for some of your telephones, your cell phones, or your iPads or any kind of electronic devices that way. During this build, I used this pack. I had it fully charged. I'm at 65% left on the capacity of this battery. That's pretty good. There's about 2,000 watt hours of power in this battery. It's got a lot of punch. Not to mention, you can hook it up to solar. You can hook up to 3 of these panels. These are 200 watt panels to give you a total of 600 watts in from the solar panel. And to top it all off, you can actually hook up to line voltage at 1800 watts and then your solar panels at 600 watts for a total input of 2400 watts to charge this thing extra fast. If you guys are interested in more information on the Zenger Super Base Pro, check in the link in the description below. Oh. There we go. One more. One more. 2 bar.
Oh, this time we're going to hang up here.
I'll do it. Good. Are you excited that thing's square?
Absolutely.
He's like, I just gotta burn things. You got like a nice fire going. It's good fire. Nice and warm over here. Fall's coming, Don. Fall's coming. Winter's coming too. All right, bring you guys quickly up to speed. So we've added a couple sheets of plywood already just to keep it square, and then we've squared it on its foundation pad and our foundation posts, and we seem to be okay. We didn't. I think I just figured out why this corner wasn't moving, Don. I screwed it in. Yeet. It's yeah, we pulled a 6-inch screw out the side of it. There it is, right there. That's why that wasn't moving very well. Oh well, I guess it's moving now. In position now. All we gotta do is secure it to the base, and it'll stay there forever, I hope. I don't think I'm gonna put blocking in. I might put blocking in. I don't know, I'm still on the fence whether or not I should put blocking in. I understand the reason behind blocking. It prevents it from twisting the joists. Maybe I'll put blocking in. I won't bore you with those details. I will put blocking in, and then I will sheet it, and start getting our A-frame up and running. We've been clearing the area of all the deadfall. I think like a little tornado went through here many years ago, and everything kind of blew this way. And so what we're doing is we're slowly kind of cleaning it up. As we've got a lull in the activity, we just kind of grab some wood and we throw it on the fire. I happen to find a nest of hornets and got stung about 8 times in the leg. So I stopped doing that. That's when you know you should probably stop cutting in the bush, is when the hornets tell you to stop cutting wood. Gotta get this thing rocking. It's pretty exciting. It's exciting at this stage. This is the part where we're finally almost out of the ground. If you've ever built a house and you're finally out of the mud stage, this is where it's at, where you're kind of on your first floor, you're out of the mud, and you know, you can get on dry land and start working from there. In order to cut these A-frame, I've created a jig and I've laid it out on the platform itself, and I've given myself some blocks that are going to hold my live edge timbers in place, because I want to be able to recreate this thing, well, 8 times. I need 8 different cuts to make 4 different A structures or trusses in order to hold my A-frame in place. And the last thing I wanted to do is some twisting, because I'm going to be using a chainsaw, so I'm going to cut tops, bottoms, get my angle right. I figured out exactly how long my panels are, so that should work okay. It's something. Bigger's always better. Got the old Makita plug-in plugged into my super bass pack. Doesn't even. It seems like it starts up quicker than, you know, plugging it into your wall. Well, kids, it doesn't look like you're going to college. I bought some structural screws. These are GRK screws, I believe, and they're expensive. Like I think this was like $5 for the one screw. And I'm using it to attach my A-frame structural components together. They seem to be working. They're doing the job. They've got like a hex screw head on the thing. Nice, doesn't strip out. I can screw them in relatively easy. The only problem is they're expensive. Really, really expensive. Structural strength test, take 1. Oh. It's pretty strong. Those $5 screws are really holding up. Is that Brant? Oh, I lost my glass. That's strong enough. I feel like I should talk a little bit about my jig. I was able to figure out the height of the frame based on the height of the panels, and then I lined it up on the floor here, and I drew up my line. So that tells me where my peak is, and it also shows me my angle. And then I lined it up at the back or the front of the cabin, and then that allows me to actually cut it off straight. So when it stands up, it's sitting flat on the floor. I'm pretty proud of my jig. Sad to take it down, actually. So anyways, that's the way if you want to recreate rafters and have them bang on with a normally shaped wood, because this is actually a squared off or flattened tree, as you guys can see. Flattened tree. It's got the one side flat, it's got the other side flat, and then there's a live edge on both sides. So if you want to make something with live edge stuff, you got to make yourself a jig. We've got our A-frame all set up. We've got our posts in the ground, which is our foundation, and we've got our main beam, and then we've got our ringer and our floor joists, and we've got our plywood on top. And as you can see, we've got our A-frame up. As you can see, it's pretty substantial. You walk right down the middle of it. That's pretty cool. Okay, so what we're going to clad with this guy is we're going to clad it with garage doors, and they're all made of glass. They're from a fire hall that decided to upgrade its garage door. So the glass, there's 5 garage doors in total. That's enough to do the entire outside skin of this building. So they got a kind of a blue tint to them. The original plan with them was to actually make a greenhouse, but then I realized that, hey, it's probably got a UV tint on it, and none of the UV which plants crave will get into the greenhouse. So instead I've decided to make myself an A-frame cabin with these things. Now, I guess the only problem is that the sheer height, the sheer weight of them, they're extremely heavy. not to mention they're glass, so they're somewhat fragile, so I'll have to hoist them up onto the A-frame. But I think this is going to be the coolest looking thing ever. Like, that's cool. I don't know if you guys, if I can portray how cool this thing is going to be. It's going to be a, you know, a futuristic looking A-frame in the forest. The plan with the garage door panels is to sit them on the outside structure, and then there's a stiffener rod that goes on the garage door panels, so it makes it so it doesn't flex. And that's going to sit down here, kind of like on its ledge, and then the panels get stacked up like you would a garage door all the way to the peak, and then there'll be a ridge cap of some kind that I haven't even quite designed yet. Maybe my welder guy will fabricate me something, kind of like a little hat for the top to prevent leaking down the ridge, and it should go up pretty easy, as long as we don't break any, because I have a couple spares, but I don't want to start replacing glass. We managed to get them down here, the long trek into the forest, without breaking them, so I think they're relatively durable. They were a door. They did go up and down for probably, you know, 10 years or whatever. Don't even know how old they are. So the question I have for you guys is, do I want to put a knee wall? Now, I was talking about having a proper A-frame on this guy, but as you guys can see, is that when I get to about here, I'm in the ceiling. So do I want to put a little bit of a knee wall, either like a 2-foot or a 30-inch knee wall, in order to give us more usable space near the edges, or do I want to continue keeping it, you know, a legitimate A-frame, which is just, you know, an A structure, no knee wall? So I'll leave that up to you guys. You guys can leave your comments down below. So this is where the knee wall would go. It would go right here. As you can see, I'm outside of the building, but if I have a knee wall, I'll be able to stand right here. But if I don't have a knee wall, I have to stand over here. Knee wall, be able to stand right at the edge, still hunched like this. No knee wall. The closest I could stand standing up is near the middle of the building, right about here. Knee wall, no knee wall, you guys decide. Because ultimately the plan for this guy is to have the front door entrance here, and then, you know, have sort of a sleeping area over here. It's gonna be like a home office type thing. There's gonna be no kitchen per se in here, so there'll be a sleeping area, kind of like a wood stove. I got a plan for a wood stove over here to heat it, and then it's going out the back wall, not up through the roof, because again, it's glass. And then kind of like a sitting area. So this was fun. This is a fun build. I think I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. And join me on the next one. Take 2. Like a monkey.